Hello and welcome to On the Corner, the official podcast, pitcherlist.com. I'm your host, Eric Smolsky, joined just 1 day. One day away from opening day. Opening day. Asterisks.
I hate that they do this. I hate
How
it.
do you feel about this, Nick? The one game opening day.
Hate it. Look, I just want it to be 1 o'clock every game, same day.
Yeah, I get it. Opening day for me is going to be Thursday. That's when there's like a full slate. Everybody's playing day baseball. Yeah. It's going to be beautiful. But yes, there is a Wednesday night game. It is the Yankees against the Giants. And it's important to note, if you're in like a Yahoo league that does Wednesday night waivers, you could pick up guys that are playing in the game on Wednesday, knowing that you can drop them Wednesday night and you get like an extra game out of it or whatever.
Absolutely,
so if you're in like head-to-head leagues, could be valuable.
It could be. Do note that the Giants nor Yankees are playing on Sunday.
Yeah.
So what might actually be the better move is to ensure that you have that line of spot filled. Instead of forcing yourself to get Yankees or Giants, allow yourself to get someone else among the other 28 teams to fill those voids on Sunday.
Yes, important. Other things that could be useful for you. What we're going to be talking about today. We are going to go team by team. We're going to do this division by division because we are using Fangraph's projected starters page, which is obviously set up by division. So we're going to go team by team, looking at which starting pitchers we are targeting for the opening, let's call it opening week, the first turn through the rotation. And so we're going to cover the weekend's games and then the first series next week, looking at starting pitchers who may have slipped through the cracks in your drafts or maybe on waiver wires that we are interested in because of news that's happened or because of their early season matchups. So, for example,
Eric, I want to mention, I know you did this. You certainly got guys in Tout Wars that IL stashes.
Yes.
So now that you've done it, probably on Wednesday
waiver moves tonight too.
Now you have these open spots and you're wondering, wait, which one of these should I be going after? So it's so important, especially for Yahoo leagues where it's a head-to-head and it ends on Sunday. I certainly drafted last night with the plan being like, who is going this weekend? Because I don't want to pick up guys and then just lose them pitching because none of my guys went this weekend. So we're going to highlight the ones that you want to be targeting to make sure that you get value this weekend.
Yes, very important. Fun fact. Did you know that on both Fantrax and on Yahoo, there is a Jared Jones on the Pirates who is a first baseman? Was not aware of this, but I drafted Jared Jones in 2 leagues and in that were done and then imported into rosters, and I was given Jared Jones, the first baseman, and I had to say, excuse me, I drafted the pitcher, please.
I cannot wait until we finally learn their middle names, at least the first initial.
Important.
It's gonna be an exciting time.
Yes. So in order to make this as useful for you as possible, we're not going to spend time on pitchers who are owned in basically every league. So for example, we're going over the AL East first. I will tell you who Garrett Crochet is starting against or who Max Fried is starting against, but we're not going to tell you whether we're interested in them or not, because Nick and I both have rankings up. Nick's are on Pitcher List. Mine are over on NBC Sports. You can see where we have these pitchers ranked, and you can see who we're interested in of the top 40 starters who are rostered basically everywhere.
Exactly. Yep.
So we're starting with the Baltimore Orioles. They start this weekend at home against the Minnesota Twins. So Trevor Rogers, Kyle Bradish, and Shane Baz will get the Twins. And then next week, Chris Bassett, Zach Eflin, and Trevor Rogers will get the Rangers. So right now, the two that are most widely available, Bassett and Eflin. I think you're going to second that you're interested in Zach Eflin because we've been talking about Zach Eflin basically all offseason.
Yeah, this is also in Camden and not in Arlington, which is really important because that's an amazing pitcher's park in Texas. But yeah, Zach Eflin, I feel, is ready to go. I love the fact that his velocity is still up. And I hate that it's on Tuesday, but I would be circling Zach Eflin as one of the guys who you pick up after possibly streaming someone else and you don't like them after the first weekend. Zach Eflin should be at the top of your list. With someone else in this division, Actually, never mind. I take that back because we found out that they are going this weekend instead of going on Monday or Tuesday as we thought they would. So Zach Eflin should be at the very top of that list on Sunday when you're trying to replace that guy you had over the weekend.
And I would just say that I like Zach Eflin enough that I am putting him in waiver claims for this week as well, maybe behind some of the guys who are starting this weekend, just to say like, hey, if I miss these guys for whatever reason, I'd rather lock in a starting pitcher that I feel really confident in. And Zach Eflin is one of those targets for me. Nick is referring to a pitcher on the Boston Red Sox. So at Cincinnati is the only wrinkle here, but we get Garrett Crochet at Cincinnati, Sonny Gray at Cincinnati, and then early today on Tuesday.
Wait, Eric, I have one question for you.
Yeah.
Where's Patrick Sandoval?
Yeah.
Where is he, Eric?
Honestly, that's a very good question because Sandoval has no minor league options. So I assume Patrick Sandoval is going to be on the IL.
So what I'm joking about here is that first pitch Arizona, we all had to give a name of someone that was like our, who's your sleeper or whatever for next year. And I said Connolly early. And then Eric, you didn't shout it. I'm going to act in my head that you shouted it. That Patrick Sandoval is the SP5, but like really far away. And then I said also that Johan Oviedo was the SP5 because it seemed that way. But no, Connolly early is the SP5. This evolved over the last few weeks. It was that first we heard that Early and Oviedo were both going to make the opening day roster because both Ranger Suarez and Brian Bayo have not been built up fully. And that's something for you to note. Suarez and Bayo both start against Houston next week. Both of them are not fully ramped up. And so that's another thing to keep in mind. That's why Johan Oviedo is also on this team. He's going to be a piggyback reliever, likely for one of those two guys. But Oviedo also struggled in his last start. Velocity was way down. Mentioned after the start that he is struggling with some of the new pitches that the Red Sox are working on, the cutter, and how that's impacted some of his other pitches. And Early really just kind of flat out outpitched him, but it made it a little more clear here. And so we are getting Connolly early in the rotation Sunday against the Reds in Cincinnati. The Red Sox have said they will reassess this after a couple of weeks. But for right now, how excited are you even going into Great American Ballpark? Oh, man. So I do want to mention 2 weeks ago when I did the list, I had Connolly early out because it seemed very clear that it was going to be Oviedo at that point. And then there was a tweet sent out a week ago before my latest edition that said TBD in this spot instead of Oviedo. And if that's pretty much a clear indication that like there's a wide open chance here. This is Early. They just don't want to say it yet, but like now Early has the opportunity. And so I completely turned back around. I have Early around like 50 or 55, I think now. Or at least I will tomorrow when I put out my new edition of the list.
Yeah.
I will mention, I don't know if this particular start is great because it is in Cincinnati. It's also, I mean, I wouldn't say that Connolly Early is completely finished and like ready and done. Like he probably will need some starts to get into rhythm and become the guy he's supposed to be. However, I absolutely love Connolly Early. I think I've been comparing him to Max Fried. I don't think I'm the first person to ever compare him to that, but he looks like a younger Max Fried. And 5 pitches with over a 5 PLV last season. He's going to be successful through the year. You have Connolly Early on May 1st. You're not going to want to drop him the rest of the year. And I think it's not necessarily going to be a bad April either. So I'd be very aggressive. He's my number one pickup right now is Connolly Early. And I checked in my league and I have the number one priority and I'm so happy right now. So I'm getting him there, but yes, Connolly Early. Don't say I love that one, that first one. You don't really know what you're going to get, but yeah, that's a great one.
I saw that same tweet you saw, and I dropped Joey Cantillo in my home league for Connolly Early over the weekend, thinking, hey, I don't know if he's going to get the job, but I'd rather have Early stashed just in case. And it all played out.
It's amazing.
I should just note, I'm with Nick. I'm just adding the devil's advocate here. I like Connolly Early. He's probably my top waiver ad. But The Red Sox gain an extra year of control if he spends 35 days in the minor leagues at any point this season. The Red Sox have Cutter Crawford and Patrick Sandoval on the IL right now. Patrick Sandoval has no minor league options. So when he is activated off the IL, he needs to either be released or put on the big league roster. He could very easily be a long reliever. There is a world, though, where the Red Sox say, hey, if we give Patrick Sandoval a month in the rotation and he looks good and somebody's like, hey, what do you want for Patrick Sandoval? Then the Red Sox flip Patrick Sandoval and then put Connolly Early right back in the rotation. And then you have an asset. And so I'm not saying they're going to do this. And Chris Cotillo, who reports for Mass Live, has also reported on this and made it clear that nobody in the Red Sox system has said they are going to do this. But anytime that a team could get an extra year of control over a very talented prospect, then it's something to keep in the back of your mind. Now, Connolly Early also is in contention for AL Rookie of the Year. He is that talented. So the Red Sox may feel like they don't want to put him in the minor leagues. It's just, I don't think this is like an imminent thing where he's going to be sent down, but it is just something to consider as you are thinking about rest of season expectations for Connolly Early, that we might come to a point where he has a month break in his MLB service time. But again, you're talking about pitchers you're picking up off the waiver wire right now. I would say none of them are like locked in, guaranteed 170 innings in the major leagues. Yeah. So you're rolling the dice with most of them.
Oh man, so many things. First of all, stop trying to make the Irish Panda happen. Okay.
I'm just going to happen. Listen, I take this is the Eno Saris, Derek Van Riper thing of just like, how does roster construction work?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Second, the one argument against the team control thing that I think the best one is what they did with Lucas Giolito. They didn't care.
Yeah.
They actually, I remember this time last year, Eric made a really great point saying, look, if they keep him under as 140 innings is really the max. If they keep him underneath that, then they get another year of team control, or they have like a mutual option that's really cheap, and they didn't care and they just let it keep going. And Connolly Early also, let's say he's pitching well, right? You're telling me that there's no disruption inside of the rotation otherwise. Happens every single time. Exactly. When this guy comes back, when that guy comes back, what's going to happen? There's always an open spot of some kind. If there isn't, and fine. But then there will be one that opens up pretty soon.
Agreed.
I would not change anything based on that. You do make a good point that in 2 weeks, it might be Connolly Early that gets demoted in some way. I would say for a guy like him, they just wouldn't do it for the first month. They just wouldn't. They wouldn't do a yo-yo with this kind of talent.
I don't think there's a risk of him being toyed with early in the season unless the first two starts are an abject disaster, which I don't expect. And like I said, he's still the guy I'm probably targeting most on waiver wires, just understanding the larger context of like how this may work over the course of a season. But to your point, there's so many things that happen that if you have the opportunity to add a talent like this, I think you do that. You go for it.
And just to put a pin on this, guys, we're not going to spend this long on everybody, but Connolly Early is the most important one, I think. Brian Bayo might actually not be rostered in a lot of leagues. I don't want to go for this against the Astros. And we just mentioned, Eric just mentioned wisely that, he might not go very long. So you have a low ceiling on that one anyway, and it's kind of just not really worth it.
Yeah, Bayo, not right now, not for me.
Cool.
We're moving on to the Yankees. We mentioned that Wednesday game. That's Max Fried. We get Cam Schlittler also against the Giants. Will Warren against the Giants on Saturday. Ryan Weathers Monday against the Mariners. And then back to Max Fried. The Yankees will be using a 4-man rotation early in the season. That means no Luis Gil. And that's important if you did draft Luis Gil. I don't personally think he's worth having on your roster right now because they're going to use this 4-man rotation. You've got Carlos Rodon's impending return at like the end of April or something like that. I don't see the upside in Gil, but you do see the upside on Saturday of starting Will Warren in San Francisco.
Yeah, he was actually the guy I was thinking of, where I thought initially that he would be going 4 or 5 with Ryan Weathers going on Saturday, which means that he would be the Monday target in Seattle. But I love it in San Francisco too. And he was someone I drafted in this league that ends on Sunday for this week because, that's a start that I want. good win chance. He's looking fine in the spring. Actually, he has increased velocity despite lower extension. And when I've seen lower extension this spring, I've often attributed it to, especially like the last starts, to relaxing, to like not going fully exerting yourself really, right? And normally that comes with a dip in velocity. I didn't see that with Will Warren. I still saw it tick up. So I'm wondering if there's even more in the tank or if that was just a weird moment. Not seeing much else that's very different. At times he was using the sweeper more and the changeup, but it really came back to being sinker four seamer and with some sweepers. And I wish I saw a little bit more of development. At the same time, it's good enough to go after the Giants. So I would be circling Will Warren if you have him on your waiver wire. That's a really good pickup for Saturday.
Yep, I like that as well. Behind early for me, but I do like that. And then maybe you
He's
add Will Warren and then swap Will Warren out for Zach Eflin, and that would be like a Sunday waiver thing you could do. The Rays. Also some news from the Rays today. We had Ryan Pepio put on the IL with hip inflammation. It's a bummer, but the Rays don't think it'll be long. They said a couple of weeks, and it's a hip. It's not an arm, and so I know it's a bummer. If you are still drafting, like I don't think it meaningfully changes your approach to Ryan Pepio. He shouldn't be out that long. He looked good in the spring. If you're in a league that has IL spots, you put him on the IL. If you're drafting in an NFBC format, I could see saying, hey, I'm missing 3, maybe 4 starts at the beginning of the season. I'm going to move him down a little bit. The corresponding news is that we have Drew Rasmussen on Thursday against the Cardinals, but now we get Joe Boyle on Saturday against the Cardinals. And I should say, Nick, we get Steven Matz on Sunday against the Cardinals. And I poo-pooed this idea of like, why are you putting Steven Matz in the rotation over Ian Seymour when Matz was much better as a reliever? Matz has looked really good. They seem to have changed his slider. It's 3 miles an hour slower with way more vertical movement. And so that's going to be way more helpful against lefties. But Matz looks really good. The Cardinals may be the worst offense in baseball, if not the worst, one of the worst. And so honestly, like, I'm okay streaming either one of these guys, acknowledging that Joe Boyle is going to have way more strikeout upside and way more of a risk to be done after 2 innings.
Oh yeah, I mean, I cannot do Joe Boyle. I'm so sorry, guys. Like, I just can't. I think he's too inefficient. I don't think he's also stretched out as much as the others too. And I don't really understand why the Rays hate Ian Seymour so much, but it makes no sense to me. And whatever, but we should see Ian Seymour in due time because I just don't think that Joe Boyle is going to last in this. It could be honestly that Joe Boyle matched up on the start day more so than Ian Seymour. I don't know. But I don't really want to go for that one. You are right. The Cardinals offense, I mean, that is a Cardinals sin, right? And Steven Matz have that one massively circled. That's such a good Sunday stream. Oh my gosh. I've been really impressed with Steven Matz as well. I'm really happy that you mentioned that slider drop in velocity and movement. That makes him much better against lefties. Exactly what you said. So that's a really cool one to target on Sunday. Nick Martinez got moved because he has a hamstring issue to the 4th, which is really annoying because he's the 4th one going into Milwaukee on Monday. And I had drafted him in Guillotine League for that Joe Boyle start for Saturday. Now I don't want to start him. He looked really bad in that last one. I wouldn't even be surprised if Nick Martinez isn't ready to go there, and that's when we see Ian Seymour.
That was my thought. Is like, I think you get Seymour as a piggyback for Martinez if Martinez gets lit up in that start, and I think that Nick Martinez is in jeopardy of the rotation spot. And good on the Rays. They seem to have found something with Matz or unlocked something with Matz, but like having Matz and Nick Martinez and pushing Seymour out of the rotation, I still just does not make sense. And so I am not interested in Nick Martinez.
The Jays are pretty simple though. Like, it's Kevin Gausman and Dylan Cease, fine, whatever. Eric Lauer, but it's the Athletics in Toronto. I don't like it personally. Imagine you don't either, Eric. It's interesting maybe in time, but I don't want to do that. But then Monday and Tuesday, if you're looking for someone to pick up and either one of these guys are available, I would absolutely do it. It's Cody Ponce hosting Rocky Road and Max Scherzer hosting Rocky Road. And I think Scherzer gets overlooked a ton. And I think that is actually a really nice one. Cody Ponce might be something more. He throws 95, 96. I didn't see in his last start enough that made me really excited about the secondaries, that split change and the breaking balls, but it's good enough to take down Rocky Road and see where it goes. So I would say Ponce over Eflin in my book, because I mean, that's just a better situation overall. And I think there's a little more strikeout upside. Those are two guys I really would like to target for next week.
Yeah, I agree. I would go Eflin over Scherzer just because I like Eflin more, but not.
Sure.
I like what you're
No, I
saying
agree with
about
you
the
there.
matchup. And Eric Lauer for me was always more interesting when I thought he was going to piggyback with Trey Savage.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And as a more traditional starter, I think you're playing matchups there, and the Athletics aren't really a matchup that I want to target. So I fully agree with you here. We're going to talk about one of your favorite pitchers
Well,
that at the end of drafts, but we're going to do that after this break. So the starting pitcher you were whispering in everybody's ear to draft, I think he has a different matchup than he was originally supposed to have. So the White Sox will start with Shane Smith at the Milwaukee Brewers. Then they get Sean Burke at the Brewers, and then your boy Anthony Kay at the Brewers.
Okay.
We should then say the rotation rounds out Davis Martin at Miami and Eric Fetty at Miami. And I know that you were intrigued by what Anthony Kay was doing this spring. He came back from Korea. He was throwing harder, and his changeup was a kick change. And so he just looked like a better version of the pitcher we saw before. And even like Eno Saris mentioned that there's an argument that Kay could be the best starter in the White Sox rotation. And that also has a lot to do with the White Sox rotation. But I'm curious if your enthusiasm for Anthony Kay has waned now that he gets the Brewers in Milwaukee instead of the Marlins in Miami.
So it certainly does. Anthony Kay was someone that I just didn't know about until like 3 weeks ago. And then I saw his game. I was like, what? Like when I was talking to you at Tout Wars, actually, I think it was that day, that Friday when I put out the list, that I did an extra round of research and everything to make sure I wasn't missing anyone. I had missed Anthony Kay. And it's like, wait, this is a 95, 96 mile per hour southpaw with a kick change. He locates well to right-handers. He has a 90, 91 mile per hour quote unquote slider, which is really a cutter that, what do you know? He gets inside to right-handers, has a sinker that goes inside to left-handers, and he has a sweeper to go away to left-handers. Like, this is what you want to see. And 95, 96 from the left side, like, this is whoa. And then he pitched yesterday, and it was really bad. I was really shocked, honestly, how well they hit the slider inside. And that messed them up a bit. I don't think that this is just like, oh, that's who he is now, whatever, game over. I would say that actually, if he were going to go against the Marlins, I would be down for that. I don't know how to judge the Brewers, though. And actually, it is kind of nice pitching in Miller Park. I will always call it Miller Park.
Sure.
It's better than you think, even though it's more susceptible to home runs. Everything else is so much better for the pitcher that it is actually a pitcher's park, believe it or not. And there is an argument to be had there. I would say among all of them, though, I'm most comfortable, if you want to talk about the first turn of the rotation, is Davis Martin at Miami, I guess.
Sure.
But I don't want to really do any of it right now. I would just wait and see and just monitor these guys.
Yeah, I'm with you. I am okay with Shane Smith in general in this rotation. I'm not okay with it at Milwaukee. I'm not doing Davis Martin or Eric Fetty, early on in the season. So I'm going to respectfully, I'm going to pass. 4 games at the start for the Cleveland Guardians. That's probably more important for you if you're rostering hitters, but interesting to note. And again, we should just say early in the season, rostering relievers, in particular, like multi-inning relievers or, key setup men on teams that have a lot of games early in the season is not a terrible strategy, because usually starters aren't fully built out beyond like 5 innings. And so you get more bullpen innings. And so a team like the Guardians that has 4 games, their key relievers are probably pitching twice. And so you may get 3 total innings from somebody. And if you say have an open rotation spot because you have somebody who's not starting until Wednesday or whatever, like having some of those guys in a weekly league could be valuable. Just something.
It's also 7 days straight for the Guardians.
That's yes. Now the Guardians schedule is a bit of a bummer for one of the pitchers I was really interested in. The Guardians will start with Tanner Bybee at Seattle, Gavin Williams at Seattle, Slade Ciccone at Seattle, and Joey Cantillo at Seattle. Now, those last two I do want your thoughts on in a second because at Seattle is a very good place to pitch, and those guys are available in most waiver wire leagues. The big news is that we got Parker Messick in the rotation. We were very excited to get Parker Messick in the rotation over Logan Allen. He goes against the Dodgers on Monday. Are you willing to add Parker Messick in leagues to just have him, but keep him on your bench for that start?
Yeah, I think so. I hate it. I was so excited. I got him in the Prodigy League before it was announced, and I didn't realize that this is what he would get. I was kind of hoping that Cantillo would get it instead, which is still so hard for me to wrap my head around that it's not Cantillo.
Is it Cantillo? Am I saying it wrong?
Oh, I made a cheat sheet, Eric.
I saw
I've seen it. Adam Jones tweeted it. Okay, he loved it. All right, go see it on Twitter, guys. If you want it elsewhere, just ask. I don't like Tanner Bybee. I'm just not going to do. I don't care. Obviously, Kevin Williams. Slade Ciccone, I am really upset about, Eric. I don't understand this. I've seen this multiple times, and it drives me up the wall where there's a pitcher who has a game or two where they are throwing something new or different, and it works really well. And then the next game, they just stop throwing it. And it's not like it was a bad feel or something like that. Like Slade Ciccone goes 34% cutters. It's great. It's 89 miles per hour. It's sure it has some extra lift than you'd want, but like this is a good pitch. This is totally a new paradigm for him. And was he due yesterday? On Monday, Slade Ciccone goes 4 total cutters. Or 5 total. And it's just why? They were successful. 80% strikes. Like he just decides not to. And I'm out now. I like Slade Ciccone with a cutter. I don't like Slade Ciccone without a cutter.
Yeah, I will just say, like, only caveat is spring training. You never know if there was like working on something in particular, but it would be surprising for him to just not throw that at all.
The new thing that works. This is who you are now.
Yeah. I wonder if it's one of those things where like it didn't feel good in the bullpen, and because it's a new pitch, he was just kind of like, we're not going to do that today. But yeah, I mean, that is unfortunate. I know you've backed off Joey Cantillo a little bit. I like it in this spot. I think, overall, I was happy with him leaning into the curveball more when he joined the rotation at the end of the season. I think that in this stadium, I don't know that he's going to like go out there and dominate the Mariners, but I think you could get a decent start out of him.
This is good. I'm cool with this one. It's actually, there's an argument to be had that you actually want Cantillo instead of Messick because of this first start.
Yeah.
And it's really hilarious because I'm out on Cantillo, but I'm in on Messick. And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, hold on a second. Yeah. But no, I do think that Parker Messick, just so you guys know, I'm waiting for the game to load today. He hasn't gone yet, I guess. And last start, Parker Messick did not have good feel for his changeup. So it obviously doesn't mean that he will have bad feel again in his next start. I'm just very curious. I want to see that last little checkbox to be like, yeah, he's in a good place. He's going to be fine. Maybe don't start him against the Dodgers, but might be 2-start week, actually. So you'll go on Sunday and it'll be fine.
Yep. Good for Joey Cantillo. We move to the Tigers. There's not a lot to talk about with the Tigers. A lot of these guys are rostered in most leagues. We get Tarek Skubal, Framber Valdez, and Jack Flaherty at the Padres. Justin Verlander at the Diamondbacks, Casey Mize at the Diamondbacks, and then back to Skubal. I think that Verlander and Mize probably cross the threshold of like available in, your 12-team leagues and stuff. I kind of like the Diamondbacks lineup. I don't think it's a great lineup, but I don't think it's a terrible lineup. I just have never been a huge Mize fan, and so I probably would avoid that in particular. Like you just talked about, like Cody Ponce, Max Scherzer, Zach Eflin. Like we already have so many other pitchers next week that I would rather go for. Verlander looked pretty decent in spring. I'm not opposed to Justin Verlander. He's below those other names for me, but I think he's above Mize in this situation.
I would I would say that Casey Mize, I want to call him like the Knight of Assuming because he's then Sir Mize. But I don't want to go with him or Verlander. I think Verlander actually might be a sneaky Toby this year. later on, like in deeper leagues, but I don't really want to do this out of the gate. And then Jack Flaherty, I don't like what I've been seeing in the spring. It's just not anything really new. He's trying to do the same thing that didn't work for him last year. And I would not do that against the Padres. So I'm just ignoring the Tigers now, save for Tarek and Framber.
I think I'm in that same boat with you. So we will move on to the Royals. Cole Reagans at the Braves, Michael Wacha at the Braves, Seth Lugo at the Braves. Now then we get Chris Bubich Monday against the Twins, Noah Cameron against the Twins, back to Reagans. I think right now, like Wacha might be the only one who is, on the waiver wires. Lugo, maybe in some leagues, but he's a big enough name that I think he was drafted at least in deeper formats. And Noah Cameron, off the back of what he did last year, was rostered in a lot of places. I know that he dropped, and even I will just say, like, my enthusiasm for him waned a little.
Yeah, same here.
I think that I might be falling into the same trap I fell in last year when I thought he couldn't keep this production up because his stuff just isn't really all that overpowering, and he relies on command, and he's a low velocity lefty with a good changeup. And how much can he keep doing this? But the Twins is a good start, and the Twins have a lot of lefties that they platoon. So you're going to get the Twins bench in at least 3 of the lineup spots.
Sure.
And so that's something to keep in mind with, like, Matt Wallner is not going to be in that lineup, just guys who could do damage with one swing. And so, if Cameron is on your waiver wire, I think Cameron is in a pretty good spot against the Twins next week.
So I agree. And I actually do think he might be available more so than I would have expected, but it's on Wednesday. And that's, I would wait. I don't think that I don't think holding Cameron now for those 5 days and not getting a chance at something else first is worthwhile.
It's a Sunday night ad.
Right, exactly. And I think, we're on the same page with that one. And Michael Wacha at Atlanta, I don't want to do. He looks a little bit lost right now. And then Seth Lugo, I'm very curious to see how Seth Lugo rebounds because he had some back issues last year. Maybe he's a little bit more healthy. His curveball velocity, though, was down before he fell off results wise. So I'm going to avoid pretty much both of those as well. So it's Reagans and Bubich, obviously, we're going with. And then Cameron, I would circle come Monday, Tuesday.
Yes, agreed. The Twins rounding out this division. They get Baltimore in Baltimore to start the season. That's Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, Simeon Woods, Richardson in Baltimore. Then they go to Kansas City, Taj Bradley, Mick Abel, and Joe Ryan in Kansas City. I'll just say, like, right off the bat, no on Bailey Ober. I wrote about him early on in spring as like a potential bounce back, and tried to make very clear so I wasn't dragged all over the place that it was very contingent on if all of this offseason work on his mechanics led to his velocity coming back. It has not. He's throwing 89 in spring and getting hit really hard. So avoid. I'm still, avoiding Simeon Woods Richardson in Baltimore. I don't love that. But the big one here was Mick Abel winning a starting spot over Zebby Matthews. And Mick Abel is who I was alluding to earlier when I said that, like, there might be only one pitcher that I was more excited about than Connolly Early winning a spot. I still think I'd rather Connolly Early in a vacuum than Mick Abel. But I love that Mick Abel won this rotation spot. And I think this first game against the Royals is not a bad landing spot. It's a good team. It's a good offense, but it's also a good pitcher's park. And I think Abel is good enough, to make that at least a solid start. It's below Eflin and Cody Ponce for me, but I think it's a decent start.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm totally with you. Ober, absolutely not. And you might have seen me do a thumbs down. For those who just saw Project Mary, I meant thumbs down. And a wonderful, wonderful movie. I read the book too. It's so good. Simeon Woods Richardson, no, velocity was down, right? And I had some intrigue at the end of last year, but no, it's not the same. Taj Bradley, never will. Please don't stop texting me. And then Mick Abel, I'm so excited. I'm really excited about Mick Abel. One thing I'm trying to do as best as I can is not feel like, not really give into FOMO, because what happens is, okay, I go get Mick Abel. He maybe needs a couple starts actually to get going. I see, like, May 1st on or June 1st on, Mick Abel is going to be great. I really do think that way. I think that his command is so good with his fastballs. I feel he just needs to get a little bit more in rhythm with his breaking stuff, find something, and then go. He's going to be amazing. But it might not happen. And I would be turning down things that I feel just much more confident in right now. Yeah. There's so many guys that can be productive that you throw in the Wednesday start versus the weekend start. Like, I'm not going to get Mick Abel and turn down Will Warren, right? I'm going to go for Will Warren, and it means I'm probably going to miss out on Mick Abel because of that. However, if he's still out there Monday, Tuesday, I would love to take a chance on this.
Right.
I would love to see.
I added him in a few places. I don't, like I said, I don't mind the start. I don't love it as much as some of the other starts we're seeing, but I think Mick Abel has good fastballs. I think the breaking balls have flashed some promise in the past. There's some inconsistency, but I know you're going to look at his surface level stats with the Phillies and think, hey, that's not really good. He had 10 starts. 4 of them were elite, not just fine. 4 of his 10 starts were elite. He had 2 just utterly terrible starts. Oh, yeah. And his performance in AAA was very, very good. He worked with a mental skills coach. I think his approach and demeanor on the mound changed meaningfully. I like Mick Abel. I think he's in this rotation to stay. And so I'd like to have him on my roster if, I didn't need to worry too much about that opening day or that first start.
Yeah.
Moving to the AL West, we got the Athletics. They are at Toronto to begin. We have Luis Severino, Jeffrey Springs, and Luis Morales. And then
Eric, I'm just going to stop you. Don't pick up the Athletics. Yeah. Okay, we gotta keep moving. I mean, I know there's Jacob Lopez on Tuesday against Atlanta. You got to wait and see. Just don't do it with the Athletics. Sorry, Luis Severino. He was throwing too hard in the WBC. He's not going to care in the Athletics. Let's just move on.
I'll just say watch that Luis Morales start. I wouldn't add Luis Morales. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by him. I'm just going to watch it.
You pick him up, you won't know if he's going to have it the next time. You just don't do it.
No, I'm still going to watch the start. The Astros home against the Angels. Hunter Brown, Mike Burrows, Christian Javier, and right now we're still seeing a to be determined.
Why? It's a Mai,
which is going to be a Mai. Because Lance McCullers is set to start Monday against Boston, and then it'll be Hunter Brown and Mike Burrows against Boston. So, if they were thinking of maneuvering anybody around, it's going to be Imai. Honestly, I think everybody here is Burrows rose to the point in drafts where he's rostered most places. Imai is rostered most places. Javier had a decent spring stats wise. And so I think people will be intrigued, but it doesn't look like the same dude from when he was really good. And I know you're going to see the spring stats and you're going to see the Angels and it's going to look enticing. It just makes me uncomfortable.
No. You do not do this. He's down 2 ticks in velocity. He doesn't know where anything's going. It's all worse. It's worse movement too. It's bad. And the Angels are not a good offense, right? But don't care. I don't want to do that. Lance McCullers Jr. against the Red Sox. I don't want to go with that chaos. Burrows, I think, is a very clear one. Yes, on a Friday. So good against the Angels. And yeah, that's it.
Yep. And that is it. Moving on to those Angels. At Houston, Jose Soriano, Yusei Kikuchi, Reed Detmers, and then Jack Kahanowitz, and a to be determined. And for the Angels, trying to figure this out. Who is their 5th starter? It still might be. Oh no, it's going to be Ryan Johnson. That was the report that Ryan Johnson has made the team, and Ryan Johnson, 23-year-old second-round pick, back in 2024, and he was, not great out of the bullpen last year, and fine enough in spring training, but not to pitch against.
I don't want any
Astros. That's the Cubs, but still not doing against the Cubs.
Just none of them. Just none of them. You might have seen me just get up out of my chair, and I was like, I'm not doing.
It didn't, because I was looking for who was the 5th.
It was pretty funny. You should watch it again. Seattle, it's really easy. You're starting obviously Gilbert and Kirby and Wu. I would even do Luis Castillo, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Luis Castillo. That's Holton the Guardians in Safeco. I know it's not Safeco. I don't care. It's T-Mobile Day today, by the way. Love it. And then Emerson Hancock, absolutely not. It should be Cooper Criswell.
Yeah, and that's Hancock at home against the Yankees.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
So Texas, we got to go through these. We're running out of time.
Moving to Texas, we get at the Phillies, Eovaldi, DeGrom, Mackenzie Gore, all rostered everywhere. Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker and Eovaldi at Baltimore.
Why is it Kumar and not Letts?
Right. So that's my question to you. It was Rocker over Latz. Do you care?
I mean, okay, I wasn't really that enthused about Latz. I feel like he needed one more thing to do, but Rocker also perfect example of the Slay-Ciccone thing of had the cutter working last year and just stopped doing it and hasn't done that in the spring, but now he throws sliders like 50% of the time, which are just slightly worse cutters. I don't get it. He doesn't know what his plan is. Jack Leiter is so close and so far, and you can do whatever you want, guys. I just see him as a hipster who's never going to quite latch into doing the same thing over and over again and being consistent. So I can't. But 15 teamers, I totally understand that one at Baltimore. Mackenzie Gore against the Phillies. I know it's the Phillies. I don't care. Mackenzie Gore, let's go.
We'll see. I get it. I get starting him. I'm cautious. The Braves, I don't know. They're gonna pick pitchers out of the.
Eric, I'm gonna stop you right now. Do you remember what Mackenzie Gore did on opening day against the Phillies last year?
I do. Listen, Mackenzie Gore, when he's good, will light up anybody.
I don't care. I'm doing it.
Yeah, I get it.
Doing it.
Nick is going to pitch for the Braves because they don't have anybody who's healthy.
Way to break my story. All right, come on.
We found out that Spencer Strider is going on the IL with an oblique injury. Listen, oblique injuries for pitchers are tough. It's probably a month, if not more. You can't throw initially with an oblique injury, obviously. So you need to rest, let the inflammation go down, and then you have to build back up again. So we're getting Chris Sale at home against the Royals. Then it's Reynaldo Lopez and Grant Holmes. And then Bryce Elder and Jose Suarez against the Athletics. I assume you're fully out on Bryce Elder and Jose Suarez. So great. Me too. And then what are you doing with Reynaldo Lopez and Grant Holmes? Because Lopez,
first of all, if I'm Atlanta, I'm putting him on the IL because he threw 86.
Right, he's throwing like 86 right now.
Get it. Look, and also you guys are wondering, wait, where's DDA Fuentes? It's clear to me that Atlanta's like, look, we would put him in there, but we just want to manage his workload, so we're not. And that's why we're turning to everything else. He's interesting. I think his slider needs to be better, just so you know. And also, DDA pitched yesterday and he only got like 1 or 2 whiffs on 36 four-seamers thrown, which is not quite what you want to see. I don't really feel like I need to get myself in on the Fuentes train whenever he does start. And with Grant Holmes, look, if it's a Sunday and you gotta buy a house with strikeouts, the real estate broker might be there for you. Okay, yeah, it might be. I'm just saying I'm not targeting it.
Right.
I think that Grant Holmes, otherwise known as REB, the real estate broker, he just is not the same exciting guy. Even though he told us in December that he was feeling better than ever.
Yeah,
I don't want to really go for it.
I can't get over the injury in those comments, and I'm going to be out on this situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Miami, home against Colorado. Sandy Alcantara, Yuri Perez, Max Meyer, and then home against the White Sox. It doesn't really get much better. Chris Paddock, Jansen Junk, Sandy Alcantara. Listen, if you drafted Sandy Alcantara, you're starting the season with home games against the Rockies and the White Sox. Absolutely tremendous. Yuri Perez, rostered everywhere. Yay, fire him up. Max Meyer, probably available in a lot of places at home against Colorado. Is that a start you like this week before waivers run?
Rocky Road. His slider is still so good. And even though I feel like the fastball should be better, the Rockies last year, if they're anyway similar to themselves this year, they were so susceptible to right-handers with sliders. They are like a right-hand lineup that will just die to a right-handed slider down and away. So that should be really good. I think Chris Paddock is actually a sneaky stream on Monday. He's looked all right in the spring, and that's not the worst thing ever. Then again, I'm remembering last year, I think it was, maybe it was 2 years ago, but I think it was last year, Chris Paddock against the Twins on opening day was just like the worst thing ever. So maybe not. But it's in a deeper league, in Guillotine League. I think that's worthwhile for me. Jansen Junk is not the worst thing ever, but I don't want to go for that. So really, I would just say Max Meyer is the one I would go for in a 12-teamer.
Yep, fair. Go to the Mets now. They are home against the Pirates. Freddie Peralta, David Peterson, and Nolan McLean in that one. And then they go on the road against the Cardinals. It's Clay Holmes, Kodai Senga, then back to Peralta and David Peterson. Actually, David Peterson is Thursday against the Giants. So 3 matchups here within the first kind of like turn and a half through the rotation. I'm curious your thoughts on David Peterson. He was really good for moments last year. Home against Pittsburgh and then on the road against the Giants is not really a terrible schedule to start the season.
No, it's not. And I'll tell you more about it after this break. So David Peterson home against the Pirates on Saturday. Yeah, I feel like that's a worthwhile start. He's stretched out enough. It's a winning ball club. And what we've seen from the spring is pretty much more of the same of David Peterson. He's a little bit volatile. You don't quite know if he's going to have the feel of his changeup down and away to right-handers or locating the four-seamers upstairs properly, the slider, etc. But it's good enough. It shouldn't be the worst thing ever. I'm cool with that one. Maybe even Clay Holmes at St. Louis, because St. Louis is, again, very bad. It's not really the most fun thing ever. I don't want to trust the Adobe that is Clay Holmes throughout the season. But Kodai Senga, I mean, if you're still drafting for some reason right now, like Kodai Senga in that situation should go 6 innings, and that should be cool. So it's a great start, hopefully, for the Mets. And then I'm going to have to go to my bagel shop, Eric, and be like, I'm going to hear them saying, oh, the team of New York, the New York Mets, look at us, we're 6-1. You know, like, okay, guys, they don't sound like that. That sounds way too childish. These guys are great. La Bagel Delight on 7th Avenue, 6th Street, Park Slope, best bagels in New York.
And they might be. I'm more into the idea of Clay Holmes, especially against the Cardinals, than you. And yeah, I'm fully bought in on Kodai Senga. The Phillies home against the Rangers, Christopher Sanchez, Aaron Nola, Jesus Luzardo. And then they go, also home against the Nationals. That's Taijuan Walker to be determined, but that's going to be Andrew Painter. And Christopher Sanchez. I think almost, the top 3 guys are rostered basically everywhere. You and I have both kind of been more in on Aaron Nola than I think we were like coming out of last season. He's looked pretty good this spring. The velocity is up, which is important for Nola. He looks crisp. I don't mind him in that start against the Rangers. Where are you? I know I'm going to ask you this. Where are you at on Taijuan Walker? I think I know the answer. And then Andrew Painter against the Nationals.
Yeah, you Walker, not runner. Oh man, it is another case of a guy who discovered a cutter, made it work. That's what saved Taijuan Walker's season last year, and now he's just not throwing it. I don't get these things. And also, Andrew Painter against the Nationals, I would just give it a shot. I would see. I mean, I am curious to see if this does pan out. He has a very interesting, he throws hard. He has some cut action on that four-seamer, right? It's not the best it's the higher arm slot, so it probably is just not really that great. But the secondaries have been good in the past. It's enough velocity that might help those out, even though it's empty velocity on the fastballs. And a bad offense in front of him. So I'm okay with that, but just not Taijuan Walker. And obviously I'll go for the other 3 of Sanchez, Nola, and Luzardo.
Agreed. Rounding out the division, we get the Nationals at the Cubs. Cade Cavalli, Foster Griffin, and Zach Littell. And then Miles Michaelis and Jake Irvin at the Phillies. I kind of assume we're just out on all of it, but I'm curious where you're at on Cade Cavalli because it's at the Cubs, at the Phillies to start the season. And so even though he looked good in spring, are you going to start him in those games?
I wasn't even in on Cavalli before really knowing that this was the full schedule, but he has a really good curveball, and I feel like that's it. I know there's velocity in there, but those are not high quality fastballs in my view. Mm-hmm. And this is just terrible. Like, you're not going to start him against the Cubs, and you are probably not going to start him against the Phillies. So I hate it. And the other 4, absolutely not. Zach Littell, I'm getting some questions about. Again, very bad matchup. I know he did really well last year for what he was on the cost of free. But I don't have faith in the Nationals' offense and defense. I have more faith in the pitching development now. I've seen what they've done a little bit. They've really turned over who the staff was, but I still need to see more to believe in the Nationals as a crew. Foster Griffin is is another KBO signing and can be a swatch. He throws like 90-91 on the left side, change of focus. We'll see. Over time, he might turn into a streamer, but absolutely, you can just ignore the Nationals pitching staff for the first week.
Yeah, and I think this is a situation where, like, you may be able to get Cade Cavalli off the waiver wire in a couple of weeks if you're inclined. I think there's a lot of people. He was like an end of draft, like, hey, he looked really good. Like, he's a lot of upside, and there's a chance he has 2 really bad starts against the Cubs and the Phillies and goes right to waiver wires. So, if you missed him, don't kick yourself. The Cubs start the season against those Nationals. Matthew Boyd, Cade Horton, and Shota Imanaga against the Nationals. And then they are at home against the Angels. Edward Cabrera, Jameson Taillon, Matthew Boyd. Awesome beginning of the season for Matthew Boyd against the Nationals and the Angels. I think that Boyd is available in some places, and if he is, I think you could add him. Like if you're in a 10 or 12 team league,
that'd be amazing.
He's rostered everywhere.
You just get him for opening day at the very least.
Yeah. Cade Horton, I love the added velocity we saw this spring. He's not going to be available most places, but I'm super in on this start. Imanaga, super in on this start. Edward Cabrera, I'm in the bag for. That's a great start. Jameson Taillon.
Yeah, no.
Against the Angels.
Can't do it.
Can't do it?
No. I mean, he's my understanding of just kind of watching the spring with Taillon is all right. This is someone who's working on things. Like it was a really bad spring. He had a better start, 4 innings of 300 runs recently, and it seems like he's getting closer, but inconsistent. Like you would see some velocities of fluctuating. It feels like he's not totally locked in. So I would just kind of wait to just see that before I would go after Taillon this year.
Okay, fair enough. Moving on to the Reds. Now, we should note with the Reds that there is a chance that this is shaken up after we record because if I had to guess, I think Nick Lodolo's blister is going to land him on the IL.
Yeah,
As
definitely.
of right now, he is not on the IL. And so we can assume for the sake of this podcast, they will just insert somebody else into his spot and keep everything the exact same, but we don't know. Andrew Abbott, Nick Lodolo, and Brady Singer will be at home against Boston. And then Rhett Lauder, Brandon Williamson, and Andrew Abbott again will be at home against Pittsburgh. I'm a full fade on Brady Singer, not just because I'm not sure I love him as a pitcher in fantasy, but I'm not starting a right-handed pitcher against that left-handed heavy Red Sox lineup in Cincinnati. Just no. I'm not going to do it.
Absolutely not.
Rhett Lauder against the Pirates. I could be talked into it. I don't know that there's a lot of strikeout upside, but if you're in like a 15-team league, I could see, going for like 5 innings, 1 run, 5 innings, 3 Ks, something like that.
I think Brandon Williamson is much better.
Okay.
And I imagine you do too. Rhett Lauder just doesn't do enough. He sometimes has a good slider, and that's really okay, but like that's it. Nick Lodolo, by the way, I do have a quote from, I want to say 3:30 today. You might have seen it already, Eric. But this is from Gordon Wittenmeyer. He says that Lodolo played light catch for maybe 15 to 20 throws this afternoon. Francona, trainer, front office officials convened after, and Lodolo said he didn't know what the plan would be. Said it was okay, but it didn't sound particularly enthused. Team says, quote, "It is working on it. IL in play." It's pretty clear to me that this is an IL stint from all of that. And that would mean that maybe Chase Burns has to step in after all. It might mean some limited starts across the board because I think they're planning on piggybacking a little bit. I'll say this, Andrew Abbott, I'm in for. I am in for Brandon Williamson as a nice stream, honestly, on Tuesday. And I would start Chase Burns if he does start. But I don't want to go for Singer. And I probably don't want to do Rhett Lauder.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not. When I said I'm interested in Rhett Lauder in like a deeper format, I'm not like banging the table for that one.
Yeah, no, I am exactly with you.
The Cardinals, you could make an argument literally every single one of these pitchers is on your waiver wire. The only one who might not be is if the helium for Matthew Liberatore got really hot before your draft. He starts at Tampa Bay and then goes and then is at home against the Mets next week. The rest of Tampa Bay starters are Michael McGreevy and Dustin May. And then the rest of the Mets starters, Kyle Leahy and Andre Palante. I assume that you're just like a no-go on McGreevy, Palante, and Kyle Leahy. I'm curious where you're at on Matthew Liberatore and Dustin May with the start against the Rays this first week.
So I do want to say a few more things though. Like Leahy, pay attention to him. I wouldn't be absolutely shocked that he has like a 5-inning 1-run game against the Mets. Everyone goes, well, hold on a second. McGreevy also is capable. Like he is a pitcher made to be a ground ball darling, and wasn't at his best last time out, if I remember correctly, in spring. But the Rays don't scare me, and it's really nice pitching for St. Louis. You do have a really good shortstop, I believe, in Mason Wynn.
Yeah.
I don't know how good Weatherholt is.
Well, Weatherholt learning a new position, and then
Yeah.
Nolan Gorman also likely to start is a below average defender, and Alec Burleson now at first base is kind of a mediocre
Arenado
defender.
days, Goldschmidt days, right? Old.
It's not Goldschmidt, Arenado, all that setup.
However, Matthew Liberatore and Dustin May, I'm absolutely in on for both of these because, again, opening weekend, but they're both looking really good this spring, and they are stretched out as well. It's a good home park, too, for St. Louis. Yeah, wins might be tough because that offense is not very good. But then again, the Rays offense isn't very good. So we'll see. We'll see if one of these guys can scrape a win here. I think they both could turn heads, and you might want to hold on to Dustin May past this one. Maybe not Liberatore in the Mets, but at the very least, I would take a shot on these and even 12-teamers.
Yeah, I'm way more in on Liberatore as somebody being somebody you would want throughout the season. I think, there was a velocity dip over the summer last year that is no longer the case. And I think the changeup being a kick change for him is really important because, lefties with good changeups. And I believe his changeup last year had like a 5% swinging strike rate to righties. And so improving on that at all is going to be really valuable for him. And so I think Liberatore is somebody who, it's a really bad team context. And so I kind of think that he'll be a streamer regardless. I don't see him being like a true ace. So he's going to be a streamer. And so maybe you drop him for the Mets or you keep him on the bench if the first start looked really good. But I'm interested in Liberatore. Moving on to the final division, the Diamondbacks face the Dodgers in Los Angeles to start the year. It's Zach Gallen, Ryan Nelson, and Eduardo Rodriguez against the Dodgers, and then they will go home to face the Tigers, and that's Michael Soroka, Brandon Pfaadt, and Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen is rostered pretty much everywhere. I think that both you and I believe that he's in for a better season this year than last year. I probably wouldn't play him against the Dodgers. That's just me. Ryan Nelson, same thing. I like Ryan Nelson. He's still entirely fastball dependent. I don't think that I can start him against the Dodgers. I'm certainly not starting Eduardo Rodriguez against the Dodgers. And then Soroka and Pfaadt for me are like, they're not good enough that I want to face. The Tigers, we know the Tigers are good because they're pitching and their offense is fine, not great, but fine. I just don't know that early on in the season, Soroka and Pfaadt are guys that I really need to be gambling on.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's interesting. Soroka added a cutter this spring, which is needed because he was really fastball, sinker, and curve. I'm not too afraid of the Tigers. If I were really looking at my leagues and going, man, I need something, Soroka, cool. Pfaadt's trying to do the right things at the very least. And maybe the TV has been slapped enough that it works now, right? So it's possible, but I'm not targeting it. This is really deep league stuff, NL only for Soroka and Pfaadt.
Yeah. This is an interesting thing with the Rockies, just because we would normally say it's the Rockies, no way. I do want to point out that their opening series is in Miami.
Yeah.
Having not gone to Colorado at all. So, yes, Arizona where they pitch in spring, there's some altitude and humidity and whatever. But you're kind of getting the Rockies pitchers as fresh as you're ever going to get them without having to deal with Colorado, going into a pitching friendly environment against the lineup that is like fine, but not great. And you're getting Kyle Freeland, Michael Lorenzen, and Jose Quintana. I think that you would agree that you're not even considering this unless you're in a 15-team or an NL only league. But I'm curious, in a 15-team or an NL only league, would you consider any of those three guys?
Yeah. Kyle Freeland every single year does this. He does it every year. We do a if you guys don't know this, I don't want you to be alarmed. Next week for April Fools, we do the same April Fools joke every year, which is I do the graphic for the SP Roundup and Justin Paradis does the write-up. And I then put out a normal when we flip back, right? So we do 2 roundups that night instead of 1 where Justin gets to write it. And I think twice, because it's always the same time of the year. It's like the first series for Kyle Freeland. It's been Kyle Freeland that Justin has written about, and I've had to do a graphic for, right? It's just a constant thing. And they often do go to Miami. They don't want to be in Colorado early in the season because of the high chance of snow and all that kind of stuff. And they're just like, it's too cold. Let's just always get Colorado out of here. So we see this. And Freeland's Freeland. It's possible Lorenzen does it. It's possible that Jose Quintana is in that rhythm too. But I think Freeland is the best one to go for. Otherwise, we're just not doing it. It does think that it's on Friday. It bothers me.
Yeah.
Why not on Thursday?
On Thursday? Yeah.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
There's no reason not to.
Yeah. They're one of few teams that have Thursday off. I believe they are the only them and that series and the Braves series. I know there's a few that are off.
Braves, Royals, Athletics, Jays. And it just feels so bad. It's Thursday opening day and your team isn't playing and they didn't play last night either. Like, why?
Yeah. I don't get it.
We need things on Friday. We need games to also be on Friday. Well, then you have other guys doing 2 games. I hate it. I hate it.
I agree. Give them Saturday off. Who knows?
Nominate me commissioner.
The Dodgers. Most of these guys are rostered. You're pitching most of them all the time. Yamamoto, Emmett Sheehan, Tyler Glass now. I know that you were concerned about Emmett Sheehan the last time out. The velocity dropping. We'll just say we don't know anything. They haven't said there's an injury. I know you think it's concerning that his velocity dropped so much in just a few pitches at the end of a start. Who knows? I'm still probably firing him up against the Diamondbacks because if he's healthy enough to be on the mound, I'm okay with it. I'm starting all of those guys. Then it's Roki Sasaki, Shohei Ohtani, and then Yamamoto again against the Guardians.
Good boy.
Ohtani and Yamamoto, no issues. Doesn't matter who they're pitching. Sasaki doesn't matter who he's pitching against. I'm not pitching him right now.
Not a chance.
And I will just say, if you drafted Justin Robleski, do not drop him.
Good, Eric. Because I think that Robleski's going to follow this one after 3 innings.
And he might then be in the rotation in a week or two.
Yeah.
If this doesn't go well.
Yeah.
It's been so abjectly terrible for Roki Sasaki in the spring. Terrible.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Padres home against the Tigers. We get Nick Pivetta, Michael King, Randy Vasquez. Then home against the Giants, we get German Marquez, Walker Buehler, and then Pivetta again. 2 questions here, but the first one is a lot of people are posting their most rostered players, and there's a lot of Randy Vasquez. And I assume that that's more for draft and holds because whatever he's, going to be in the rotation. I'm curious your thoughts at all on Randy Vasquez and if you're going to pitch him in this game.
Okay. So I have a soft spot for him because all of a sudden 2-3 ticks of velocity increase and got to talk to them a little bit. And he's been working really hard and stuff. He has a new cutter. It's really fun to hear someone that has really tried as hard as he can to make himself into something new and better is getting results, right? He does not have the feel yet of it all. And I think in time it can, but it's not there yet. He does limit hits more than you'd think though too, which is kind of cool. Deep league, I'm okay with it in 15 teams. I don't feel like you need to chase this in a 12. Then there's German Marquez and Walker Buehler.
Yeah, German Marquez, the whiffs on the curve in his last start were.
You know what's the funniest thing to me, Eric? It's not a curveball. It's a gyro slider at 86. It's not even. It's the funniest thing to me. I understand that it's considered a curve. It probably even throws it one because it's also cores that would do things to it, and it's just how it was. But the pitch movement on it is just not a curve, and it's at 86. I don't know. Anyway, yes, he got so many. whiffs. He got 22 whiffs. He was locating it super well down and glove side to both lefties and righties. Awesome. I don't like anything else. It breaks the Wasker rule. There's no way I can trust this. And Walker Buehler, look, they're doing a clear plan. Hey, don't throw four seamers anymore. It's not good anymore. You don't have sticky stuff. Please stop. You don't have velocity anymore. So they're going heavy on the secondaries.
Yep.
And those are whatever secondaries. Like, there really isn't anything exceptional going on here. I just don't think they had any other options. And it's Walker Buehler at the moment. So I would not go for that one either.
Yeah. Listen, I talked myself into Walker Buehler last year when he was with the Red Sox, and I thought that they were going to like change some things around, and I'm not going to talk myself into it again. We are ending with the Giants. They get the Yankees at home, Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Tyler Mahle. And then on the road against the Padres, Adrian Hauser, Landon Rupp, and then back to Logan Webb. You have been interested in Mahle because you like that home park. I'm curious if you like it enough to start him against the Yankees.
Okay, come on. Don't ask me questions you know the answer to, Eric.
Okay, the answer is going to be no. You don't.
No,
you don't.
Of course not. But it's too bad because he's going to get the Mets after that, which is just, it's too bad. Yeah. But he will be a streamer. And same with Hauser and Roop. Like, I don't want to go for those in those situations. I'll start Webb and Robbie Ray, though.
You're anti-Roop against the Padres.
Yeah.
I want to read you something.
Absolutely.
The Padres 6 through 9 hitters.
Yeah.
Gavin Sheets, Ramon Laureano, Miguel Andujar, Freddie Fermin.
Okay.
Does that change your opinion at all about starting pitchers against the Padres?
Well, Landon Roop against the Padres, or anyone against the Padres?
Yes, Landon Roop.
No,
not Hauser. Okay.
No, I mean, Landon Roop needs to prove to me that he can get consistent whiffs on his curveball and have command of his stuff. Like, I just haven't fully seen that. And no, it's too risky for me right now. I don't feel like I'm trying as much as I can to just say, look, I am not going to go and try and chase this Chinese squirrel, the guy going for, oh my God, surprising 8 strikeout game or something like that, who I don't believe is going to go 6 innings. Those guys will be there. They'll show up. They'll come and go throughout the entire season. And I don't feel like I need to get this one. If it goes so well, I'm sure I'll be able to pick him up, but I'm not going to preemptively do it.
Okay. That makes sense. I would start Landon Rupp in like a 15-team league, but that is just
yeah, I get it. I'm just not excited about it.
Okay, fair. All right, that's going to do it for us in this episode, and that's going to do it for these episodes that are not focused on the list.
Yeah.
Because next season, we'll see you next season. Next week. We're going to have the regular season cadence. We're going to be, 3 days of baseball in the books. And we're going to start with our 3 days. We have acknowledged this. The Wednesday night game. Oh, right. Thursday is 4 days. 4 days of baseball in the
4.5. Yeah.
4 in a game. 4 days of baseball in the books. And so we're going to have a little more information. We're going to have the list. We're going to talk through the list and do the podcast like you always are used to hearing them. So enjoy these 4 days at one game of opening day baseball. We hope you appreciate it. It's great to have baseball back. We will be chatting on X, Twitter all the time. So come reach out to us. I'm Eric Smolsky, the Pelican.
I'm Nick Pollock, the Lion, on twitch.tv/pitcherless, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. every weekday morning. Come on in. We'll talk about the streamers every single day.
That's it.
Well, you don't have a...
I don't know. I was going to let you close it out. Yeah, I'm going to go look at a calendar and see how many days are in a week.